We will write the letter we spoke of earlier. Harville, will you give me the materials?
That is precisely my observation. I would rather have young people settle on a small income at once and have to struggle with a few difficulties together than be involved in a long engagement. I always think that no mutual...
Oh, dear Mrs. Croft, there is nothing I so abominate for young people as a long engagement.
Or an uncertain engagement, an engagement which may be long. To begin knowing that such a time there will be the means of marrying, I want to be very unsafe and unwise, and I think all parents should prevent it as far as they can.
Look here, do you know what this is?
Certainly, it's Captain Bennick.
It is. You can guess who it was for. But it was not done for her. He met a clever young German artist at the Cape, and in compliance with a promise to my poor sister, sat for him, and was bringing it home for her. Now I have the charge of getting it properly set for another. Poor Fanny. She would have not forgotten him so soon.
No, that I can easily believe.
It was not in her nature. She doted on him.
It would not be in the nature of any woman who truly loved. We certainly do not forget you so soon as you forget us. It is perhaps our fate rather than our merit. We cannot help ourselves. We live at home, quiet and confined, and our feelings prey upon us. You are forced on exertion. You have always a profession or some form of business or another to take you back into the world immediately, and continual occupation and change soon weaken impressions.
Granting your assertion that the world does this all so soon for men, which however I do not think I shall grant, it does not apply to Bennick. He has not been forced upon any exertion. The peace turned him on shore at that very moment, and he has been living in our little family circle ever since.
What shall we say now, Captain? If the change not be from outward circumstance, it must be from within. It must be man's nature which has done the business for Captain Bennick.
No, it is not man's nature. I will not allow it to be man's nature. It is rather woman's nature to be inconstant and forget those whom they love or have loved. I believe the reverse. I believe in a true analogy between our bodily frames and our mental, and that as our bodies are the strongest, so too are our feelings.
Your feelings may be the strongest, but the same spirit of analogy will authorize me to assert that ours are the most tender. Man is more robust than a woman, and he is shorter lived. It would be too hard for you if it were otherwise. You have difficulties and privations and dangers to struggle with. You are always laboring and toiling, exposed to every risk and hardship. Your home, country, and friends are all quitted. It would be too hard indeed if woman's feelings were to be added to all this.
We shall never agree on this question. Have you finished your letter?
Not quite, I'm afraid. Just a few lines more. I shall have it done in 5 minutes.
As I was saying, Miss Elliot, we shall never agree, I suppose, on this subject. No man or woman ever shall, probably. But let me observe that all the histories are against you. All stories, prose, and verse. If I had a memory as Bennick, I would bring you 50 quotations in a moment on my side of the argument, and I do not think that I ever opened a book in my life that had not something to say upon woman's inconstancy.
All written by men, let us make not reference to examples in books. Men have every advantage of us in telling their own story. Education has been theirs in so much higher a degree, the pen has been in their hands. I will not allow books to prove anything.
How then shall we prove anything?
We never shall. We can never expect to prove anything upon such a point. It is a difference of opinion, which does not admit proof. We each begin, probably, with a little bias toward our own sex, and upon that bias build every circumstance in favor of it within our own circle.
If I could make you comprehend what a man suffers when he takes a last look at his wife and children and watches the boat that he has sent them off in, as long as it is in his sight, and then turns away and says, only God knows whether we shall ever meet again. And then, if I could convey to you the glow of his soul when he does see them again, when, coming back after a year-long absence, perhaps, he calculates how soon it will be possible to get them there, pretending to himself and saying they cannot be here till such a day, but all the while hoping for them 12 hours sooner, and seeing them arrive at last, as if heaven had given them wings. If I could explain to you all of this, and all that a man can bear and do. I speak, you know, only of such men as has hearts.
Oh, I hope I do justice to all that is felt by you and those who resemble you. God forbid that I should undervalue the warm and faithful feelings of any of my fellow creatures. I should deserve utter contempt if I dared to suppose that true attachment and constancy were known only by women. No, I believe you capable of everything great and good in your married lives. I believe you equal to every important exertion into every domestic forbearance, so long as, if I may be allowed the expression, so long as you have an object. I mean, the woman you love lives, and lives for you. All the privilege I claim for my own sex, it is not a very enviable one, you need not covet it, is that of loving longest when all hope is gone.
You are a good soul. There is no quarreling with you. And when I think of Bennick, my tongue is tied.
Here, Frederick, you and I part company, I believe. I'm going home, and you have an engagement with your friend. Tonight we may have the pleasure of meeting again at your party.
Harville and I shall soon be after you. That is, Harville, if you are ready. I am in half a minute. I know you will not be sorry to be off. I shall be at your service in half a minute. I can no longer listen in silence. I must speak with you by such means as within my reach. You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me not that I am too late, that such precious feelings are gone forever. I offer myself to you again, with a heart even more your own than when you almost broke it 8 years and a half ago. Dare not say that a man forgets sooner than a woman. That is, love has an earlier death. I have loved none but you. Unjust I may have been, and weak and resentful, but never inconstant. You alone have brought me to Bath. For you alone I think and plan. Have you not seen this? Can you fail to have understood my wishes? I had not waited even these 10 days. Could I have read your feelings, as I think you must have penetrated mine? I can hardly write. I am every instant hearing something which overpowers me. Too good, too excellent creature. You do us justice indeed. You do believe that there is true attachment and constancy among men. Believe it to be most fervent, most undeviating. I must go, uncertain of my fate, but I shall return hither, or follow your party as soon as possible. A word, a look will be enough to decide whether I enter your father's house this evening or never.
My dear, how ill you look. Go home directly and take care of yourself, that you may be fit for this evening. I wish Sarah were here to doctor you, but I am no doctor myself. Charles, ring and order a chair. She must not walk.
I'm afraid, ma'am, that it's not perfectly understood. Pray be so good as to mention to the other gentlemen that we hope to see your whole party this evening. I'm afraid there's been some mistake, and I wish you particularly to assure Captain Harville and Captain Wentworth that we hope to see them both.
Oh, my dear, it is quite understood. I give my word.
Do you think so? Will you promise me to mention it when you see them again? You will see them both again. This morning, I dare say. Do promise me.
To be sure I will, if you wish it. Charles, if you see Captain Harville anywhere, remember to give Miss Anne's message. But indeed, my dear, you need not be uneasy. Charles, see that Miss Elliot arrives safely home.
Of course. Which way are you going? Further up to town?
I hardly know.
Are you going as high as Belmont? Are you going to Camden Place? If you are, I shall have no scruple in asking you to take my place and give Anne your arm to her father's door. She is rather done for this morning and must not go far without help.
It shall be no trouble, I assure you. I was 6 weeks with Edward. I saw him happy, and could have no other pleasure. I deserved none. He enriched after you very particularly, asked even if you were personally altered. Little suspected that to my eye, you could never alter. I told myself I will be at Bath on Wednesday, and I was. Was it unpardonable to think it worth my while to come? And to arrive with some degree of hope. You were single. It was possible that you might retain the feelings of the past, as I did, and one encouragement happened to be mine. I could never doubt that you would be sought and loved by others, but I knew too certainly that you had refused one man at least, of better pretensions than myself. And I could not help often saying, was this for me? How could I look on without agony? Was not the very sight of the friend who sat behind you at the concert, was not the recollection of what had been, the knowledge of her influence, the indelible, immovable impression of what Persuasion had once done, was it not all against me?
You should have distinguished. You should not have suspected me now, the case so different and my age so different. If I was wrong in yielding to Persuasion once, remember that it was to Persuasion exerted on the side of safety, not of risk. When I yielded, I thought it was to duty, but no duty could be called an aid here.
Perhaps I should have reasoned thus, but I could not. I was overwhelmed, buried, lost in those earlier feelings, which I had been smarting under year after year. I could think of you only as one who had yielded, who had given me up. Tell me if, when I returned to England in the year 8, with a few £1,000, and when I was posted into the Laconia, if I had then written to you, would you have answered my letter? Would you, in short, have renewed the engagement then?
Would I?
You would? It was not that I did not think of it, or desire it, as what could alone crown all my other success. But I was proud, too proud to ask again. I did not understand you. I shut my eyes and would not understand you or do you justice. This is recollection which ought to make me forgive everyone sooner than myself. 6 years of separation and suffering might have been spared. It is a sort of pain, too, which is new to me. I have been used to the gratification of believing myself, to earn every blessing that I enjoyed. I must endeavor to subdue my mind into my future. I must learn to brook being happier than I deserve.